Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be looking at a brand new cycle of games from the LD competition. This is now LD 29 and today we're going to be checking out Ant Simulator 2014. So our new LD competition set is going to be on the theme of Under the Surface. And this is basically, if you're not familiar with this, Ludum Dare, or at least that's my best shot at the pronunciation. It's a competition where people make games in 48 hours with a theme. They try to stick to that theme, and they try to make as much of it from scratch as possible. Sometimes people go on beyond the competition to go and revise and rework their games to create a post-compo build, and then sometimes those are available as a separate thing. But this one, made in 48 hours, designed to be on the theme again, Under the Surface, and we're going to be controlling an ant. So that theme is very much relevant, and we're going to be spinning around here and see what we can find in this first-person exploration game. I want to warn you, though, as you see me start to move the frame of view around, this game has an extremely wide FOV, and anybody that has a propensity for motion sickness, this very well may do that to you about as badly as it's going to get. So, as you can tell, we seem to be in a very large environment here. This is a Unity game, by the way, in case you were wondering, and in case you couldn't tell, I think it says it right here, doesn't it? Yeah, Unity free and Blender Photoshop. Yeah, so anyway, let's wander around a little bit, and we'll get a little bit of a look around. So there's a lot of very large stalks of grass that you can see going off in every direction, little twigs and such, and a very large set of mandibles and antennae hanging up in front of our field of vision here. And I also want to show you, too, if I hit escape, we've got a couple of sliders here, FOV, audio volume, and look sensitivity. I think they're pretty much about right where they need to be, but if you need to turn the FOV slider down, that is totally within your grasp to do and probably pretty reasonable. Yeah, this might not be quite as bad for people with motion sickness issues, but on the other hand, you can also go like that, and that's terrifying. It's basically the world's worst fisheye ever. Also kind of feel like I am one of the aliens from the Alien series. Got that H.R. Geiger mandible situation going on. Anyway, let's put it roughly about where it was when we started, I guess. And we will explore around a little bit. So this game doesn't really have anything specifically set up for you to do. It's mostly just for you to wander around, and it's honestly just fine like that. I've always had a bit of an interest in games that were like this in general, and I've also been a big fan of, like, SimAnt in the past, and the idea of seeing a world from a different perspective, and I've covered quite a few games with a similar thrust to them, but I've never covered one where it's just like, you are an ant, and you do ant things. And ant things, if you wondered, are basically just like walk around, look for stuff, and like just see where you came from. And in this case, we're going to go down into this anthill and find, I suppose it's supposed to be the queen ant. It's a little bit horrifying looking. It seems to be coated in some sort of bizarre biofilm. I'm not sure what that shader effect is doing exactly. It's almost like what you would find on like a metal texture, but it's all good because this is, you know, a 48-hour game. I tend not to be super critical of them, and in honesty, this is actually not all that bad. There's a lot of really nice effects. Like I mentioned, there's, you know, large chunks of landscape that you can see with a pretty good sense of scale. The grass stalks definitely seem to loom overhead in a way that is a little bit more imposing than most games that depict this kind of a thing. Also, there's a lot of your friendly ant compatriots that seem to be wandering about with you, and they're all, you know, kind of dead in the head. They don't seem to be going anywhere in particular. They just sort of wander aimlessly about, and I was just kind of going to follow one around for a moment here and see if it does anything particularly interesting. It sort of seems like it's surfing on the ground, and is it going anywhere in particular? No, I think it's just sort of set on random movement. Also, being that you're an ant, you have the ability to access very tiny areas, sometimes even go through walls, apparently. But if you can find, like, just a little tiny chunk of land and basically just squeeze your head in there, you can pretty much get your whole body through, which does open up possibilities quite greatly for intricate map design if the developer wanted to go that route, but it also kind of opens up possibilities for a lot of really easily exploitable geometry bits. Is there... I found one in the past. I wandered around here for a few minutes before I started the episode. Yeah, I mean, like, probably I can fit through this. Yeah, I don't know if it's just that there's iffy collision, but I'm pretty sure it's, you know, intentional, being that you're an ant, and ants are great at squeezing into cracks. It's like one of their favorite things, I would guess. The one thing that I'm a little bit sad about is that there's not really any kind of, like, specific direction or, like, any kind of, I don't want to say message or something necessarily, but like something that just sort of encapsulates the experience. And the one thing that I had in mind was like, what if you put yourself in the perspective of an ant and found that maybe all of your ant buddies were wandering down this line, because that's what they do. They like set up little pheromone trails and they follow each other around. And maybe that pheromone trail led a whole line of them toward maybe like a partially overturned soda can or something, and then everyone starts going in the soda can, and then you find out, well, you're an ant and, you know, limited in power, and you fall in the soda can, you can't get back out. That would be a very ant-like way to end the game. And could also kind of be used to direct the character around, or the player around, in a sort of a linear fashion towards something that may end up giving you sort of a more meaningful impression of the game. Because right now, you wander rather aimlessly, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, used in the right way, could also be a very effective tool to just let the player discover and explore things completely of their own accord, with absolutely no like interfering narrative coming from the developer. Things can just sort of evolve on their own behalf. Also, what's going on with these strange chunks of ground up here that seem to be sort of hanging in the air? See if this goes somewhere, because I haven't really found if maybe there's a few, I don't know if Easter eggs are the right word, but like little areas that maybe are not necessarily obvious to go to. Also, those particles in the air are very strange looking sometimes. They look like ice crystals at times. And thankfully, ants have no falling damage because they have little shock absorbers built into their legs. It's handy. I don't know where they get those. Also, I could see this evolving into an entirely new experience where maybe there could be Pikmin-style puzzles. I could see that the character could maybe have their mandibles mapped onto like the analog, or the triggers rather, on a 360 controller. Maybe you could use that to grab and squeeze and pull things. I could also imagine maybe you recruit some of your friends, and maybe you could have a war with the red ants, or maybe you could play as the red ants. You know, there's a lot of options, many of which were already explored in SimAnt. But that's all good. I think it would be neat to see it from a first-person perspective, especially if you maybe could be the one doing the digging. And that sort of brings us into a whole realm of like Minecraftian options and obstacles of things that could happen. You know, imagine you build this really intricate nest, and then all of a sudden it rains, and then your whole nest fills up with water, and then that could be a whole thing. Seeing that all play out in first person could also give you a very different attachment to the way that you, you know, feel about your character. And I do also like that they let you go a little bit off the rails here, because I assume you're probably supposed to stay largely around the nest, but they let you go a little bit out of the way here. And I haven't explored all of this landscape, so there might actually be like another anthill or something that could end up taking you somewhere else. But so far I haven't seen it. I was very excited though to find out that like there's all this ground that we could cover, and this is like the fastest ant known to man. It's even got some buddies out here in the boonies. I'm not sure what they're doing. Well, I guess they're exploring like flickery texture territory. That's okay. Also, looking up, really some nice effects going on in the background. Seems to be some light rays coming through the trees, and a nice sense of scale as well on some of these. I don't know if these are like brambly bushes or trees off in the distance. But if you look at it versus the scale of the grass, well, there's like a lot of space between each blade of grass, and then looking up into the sky, I can only imagine these bushes or trees are gigantic. Kind of imagining, too, what would happen if you were allowed to actually crawl up some of those, and maybe you're the type of ant that enjoys making nests inside of trees or something. Maybe you could go and explore that option as well. So there's all sorts of crazy, you know, options and different ways that this could end up playing out as an ant simulator, and I kind of like the idea of all of them. Right now, you know, very early form. This is sort of the framework of something that could be very cool, but very much still early on. So I'm still wandering about, seeing if there's anything else worth seeing around here. I just noticed something bright and shiny, but it just turned out to be a lighting effect on that blade of grass. Can I just wander straight up one of these? I thought I just did a second ago. Yeah, I can. You know, ants are very good climbers. They also usually have pretty sticky feet, so in this case, this ant maybe failed sticky feet ant training class or something. He doesn't seem to be able to go up and stay up all of these blades of grass. I've seen them climb, like, sheer walls, too, that were, like, completely straight up or even bend back on themselves like that. Well, maybe that could be a skill that you unlock after exploring and finding some sort of nutritious food source to bring back to the hive, or the nest, rather. Oh, yeah, I forgot there's this little title card just hanging in the air here. That's a little bit disconcerting when you kind of forget that it's there and you come back and you're like, oh, there's just, like, some text over here. Should probably just, like, disappear after the first minute. or when you lose proximity from it would probably make sense as well. But 48 hours is not a long time to design a game, and this one has some lovely effects and is a lovely framework to start on something bigger. So I feel like I've gone over just about all the points now. So if you have any that you'd like to add, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. If you want to contribute, let me know what you think would make Ant Simulator 2014 even better than it is now. And of course, if you'd like to try it out yourself, there will be a link. It is totally a free game, of course, being that it is from the LD competition. All of them are. I think this one actually might have a link to play right in the browser as well as a download link. And many of them also have multi-platform downloads as well. I'm not sure if this one did. I forgot to look beforehand. But anyway, I'll put the requisite links in the description. So, let me know what you think. Go grab it, play it yourself, see if you can find any Easter eggs or any weird stuff. And let me know that, too, if you could. And, of course, if you enjoyed the episode, consider leaving a like. It helps me out quite a bit. And lastly, be sure to come back again tomorrow, because new episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day without fail. 740-something consecutive days now, and still counting. So with your help and your support, the series will keep going on and hopefully become even more successful. And if you could, I would absolutely love it if you could tell a friend about what I'm doing, because it means a ton to me. It's my favorite thing in the world to do, and I love having you guys here. So I just want to spread the joy of indie games and finding weird and unique and artistic ones, and also the ones that are a little bit off the beaten path. And a lot of the LD games tend not to get much coverage because, well, there's like 2,000 of them, so, not every game is going to get coverage, and that's kind of reasonable. But at the same time, I like to do my best to highlight the ones that I can. That's a rather picturesque shot to go out on, isn't it? So anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I will catch you again tomorrow, and I hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to you later.